So, quick question. Which of you have, for example, worked with unit testing? Which of you actually writes unit tests? I don't know if you are developers, so.
Yeah, I have done that.
All right, good.
There is
So,
no QA team in our group. We are doing our own testing.
okay, cool. So you're writing unit testing, right? And how is the problem with the test coverage? Is it good enough? How do you know if your product is covered good enough?
So we have like 100%, every code has to be 100% covered. Until it is covered, it doesn't go to approved.
That's a lot.
Yes.
That's a huge effort, right?
Yes.
So, and everybody is writing tests, or do you have specific members writing the tests?
Everybody who is developing their code is writing their own test.
All right, good. It's good to hear that. So, have you tried out approaches like TDD?
Yes, we did. And we are encouraged. We are lazy.
Oh,
There's a lot of things going on, like to implement TDD, but yeah, we have been giving sessions to accept TDD, but yeah, it's a lot of time and a lot of, change. Change is not easy.
yeah, changed. Yeah, absolutely. And with Scrum teams, we are in the business of change. We are in two kind of business, actually. We are in the business of learning. This is really central part. If you want to develop co-intelligence in the team, we need to really focus on learning. That's really important. And the other part is change. We're in the business of change. So all these two things. And you cannot evolve your product if you're not allowed to change. Because if you look at the approach that we have, this evolutionary approach, it basically means, well, you go into one direction and you're not sure that's really always the right one. So that means you have to be prepared to always be able to change direction. Oh, we tried this. Yeah, but it's not going on. Let's try this, right? And to be able to change means you need to maintain the flexibility of your product. And we're talking software here, right? Software should stay soft. And one of the problems with software is over time it's somehow strangely it gets brittle, right? And change becomes hard. So, and this is so in our training courses, we look at approaches that allows us to maintain the changeability, right? So we have to look at certain principles, right? And one of the most important principles is clean coding, right? To make it easy to understand, because you cannot change something if you cannot understand it. So understanding is really part. So what are the ways that you can keep your code easy to understand? And then how can you make it easy to change? And one of the ingredients, and this is really important, is you need this safety net of tests. Otherwise, you take too much risk if you just change something. You don't know if something breaks. And this is part of complex systems. Right? You need to have this layer of tests that allows you to actually be able to break something. It's normal, all right? So, and to be honest, the TDD thing, in my teams, when I start with my teams, actually, so we learn unit testing. This is like the building. This is the basics. This is a principle of testing, right? But actually, what provides the most value from a TDD approach, a test-first approach. I would not even say test-driven development, but let's focus on test first. It basically means, okay, it's like the same thing when we're talking about success, right? What does success look like? So we use this approach from a product perspective, right? What is success for your product? Do you know what your KPIs are? What is your OKRs? How does success? What's your objective, and how do you measure it? The same thing happens with when you create a functionality. Okay, so you want to provide this kind of functionality. How do you know it's actually working? It's OKR on technical level. How do you measure it? Well, and so here we're talking acceptance criteria. And an acceptance criteria actually represents a test, right? It's a description of the behavior that you want. So, and this is the part where I like to teach TDD. It's actually when you go a level higher, when you're talking about BDD, behavior-driven, right? So, and you can construct your acceptance tests first, right? Some people call it acceptance test-driven development, but it's the same thing, right? You just want to say, okay, give an example about how this requirement works. How does it look like? Oh, you put in your credit card details here, you push a button, and this happens, right? You get an email, your value will be debited and all that stuff. So that's how it looks like, right? So with BDD, it's what we do with a test, but we write the test, and this is something that I think was Emeka, right? So if you are into business analysis, right? So how does success look like? Can you describe this from a behavioral standpoint? And you write specification. So if you go BDD, well, we start by writing a test then on high level, on business level. But with BDD, we make it executable. Right? So this is really a key thing to learn. And I've seen this in practice. It's so important because complexity will eat you alive. Complexity will kill you in the long run. I mean, we have to. So part of the training is understanding how does complexity, and especially the incidental complexity, creeps into your product. So we see this as technical debt. Right? When you have this incidental or low quality code, how can we work with that? And we need to make these things concrete. We have to talk about, so yeah, but what does it mean? How can we do this in practical terms? So we need to understand a little bit how can we make our code more readable, understandable? Because our brain can only handle so much complexity. So that's one important investment that and this is the developers thing. We as developers need to understand this, and it's not a manager, because the manager doesn't understand that. That's not the manager's thing, and it's not the Scrum Master's thing. It's not the product owner's thing. This is something that we as developers have to take responsibility for. So we need to understand this. This is what I teach. So what is easy to read code? So we have to talk about these principles of clean coding. So then we're talking about changeability. How can we make our code easy to change? So we're talking about specific software engineering principles for that, right? So which principles are these, right? So I'm going to show you examples, and you're going to apply these examples. So that's one part. How can we lower the risk of changes? And this is when we need to have testing approaches. If you want to, and you have to keep your code flexible, you need to be able to refactor your code constantly. This is the daily business. So you need to understand the testing approaches for that. And we need to automate these things, right? So how about, and there's another part of, so we have to talk about design and architecture principles for change and for keeping things risk-free, lowering risk, lowering cost of change. But on the other hand, what's the cost of delivery? Right? So how can we automate these things? So, because again, as a Scrum team, we should be able to deliver each sprint value. So, and it should be in the hands of your clients, not in the hand of, well, another department. No, this is really quite literally, we should be able to deliver the things on a regular basis into the hands of your clients. So these are all these different aspects that we as developers have to understand. So to summarize this, if you are thinking about the role of the developers, right? If I'm an organization, I would think, well, shouldn't we invest into these guys? Shouldn't we certify them? And I'm telling from practice. I'm a developer, I'm a product owner, and I've been a Scrum Master, and now I'm teaching this stuff, right? We need to invest into these guys. So how often do we have a Scrum Master? Have you ever seen a Scrum Master and saying, yeah, you need to deliver this with quality? And then they ask, how? Well, that's not my problem. I'm just a Scrum Master. That's not enough, right? So there are things that we need to learn, and it's different from the traditional approach. The technical challenge is so much higher. Imagine before you had these, okay, we have months of work, right? And then you have to, oh, we have an interesting question, right? But just to finish. So in a traditional approach, well, I'm just developing that, and the rest is not my problem, right? But now that's not enough. Now we as a whole team, and that's a collaboration thing. We as a team have to be able to deliver a new version of the product let's say each 2 weeks, right? So that's a challenge. So there are always things to learn, right? Okay, anyway, so we have a question. Here we have, how do you handle a failed product? So Emeka, can you detail this a little bit? Are you talking about how can you prevent a failed product, or is it which part do you want to discuss?
Just like if a product is failed and you have feedback from your customers, right? How do you handle it?
So, but what kind of failure are we talking? Are we talking like a bug, a technical failure, or are we talking value?
Value to customer, feedback, getting the feedback, they're expected to get AB. And for example, maybe, let's say a phone, they've got a phone and the battery is not lasting and all that. You know, it can be in different form, but like the expectation from the customers are not met.
Okay, good. So many different points where you can actually where you can try out things. So I see. So you are business analyst. So I imagine that you are talking. So you especially know the pains when we are developing the wrong thing, right? Oh, yeah. It's not exactly that. It's the other thing. So one of the things that, first of all, you need to involve the customers more. That's very important. So, I mean, if you look at Scrum, in Scrum, when does the client know when it's wrong? In one sprint, right? Sprint review. And then they will see your product, yes, and they say, no, it's bad, it's not that. I mean, that's something, okay? The problem is, well, it's still the wrong thing. It's still like one sprint wasted. I mean, it's a learning, but it's expensive. So, right? So Emeka, how can we make sure that we at least increase the probability that we deliver something that they really want? And this is where so we have the work of the product owner is really important. And as a technique, Emeka, so I would really recommend you to go deeper on the BDD thing. So we have these facilitation approaches that we call specification by example. So what we do when we apply BDD, we schedule regularly workshops with some subject matter expert, right? We want to invite these guys and say, okay, oh, you need, we're talking about this new feature. And then you ask a very simple question. You say, can you give me an example? That's the basic idea, right? And you have this dialogue with your clients, give us examples. And if you do this together with the whole team, you discuss examples. And they say, okay, can you give an example when it's wrong? Can we give an example when it's good? Can you give me an example, a corner case? Can you give? So it's this kind of discussion, and it's all about illustrating business rules and having these conversations This is part of product backlog refinement. This is part of improving the backlog, right? When we talked about keeping the backlog in good shape, that's what we do. So we have these conversations, and then we have a thing in BDD, which is a specification language. Emeka, have you heard about Gherkin?
No.
So Gherkin is a specification language, and I'm sure you have heard about this, right? Maybe you don't know that strange name. Have you ever seen this, like, given this and that, given a customer who has done this and that, when she tries to buy the new product, then something should happen. Have you heard of that, Schweiter? Maybe you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So that's this is a formal language. It's a formal language, and the BDD approach is that you start having this conversation, you clarify, because an example is either right or wrong. There is no misinterpretation. The idea of when you have an example, it's binary. It's either right, either it works or it doesn't. So by having this clarification, you reduce the chance to deliver the wrong thing dramatically. And the next step by BDD is that you take this kind of specification and you turn it into an automated test. And that test helps you to verify that you actually delivered this. Right? So it helps you, it guides you developing it. And at the same time, it will be a regression test. And you can turn this into a documentation. And this is like the golden thing in agile testing. This is the one thing that I teach in my team, they do this all the time. So for example, we are developing right now discount coupons, right? So we're developing our website, and you can buy training course, and you can have a discount coupon. And there's so many business rules, and it seems so simple. But when you really start looking at this, it gets really complicated. For example, okay, well, I have an early bird. Okay, that's a different, that's a discount. But so then we have a certain discount. For example, you will get a discount for this training course, right? I think it's 10%. So then you have early bird, that's one thing. And at the same time, you can have a discount of 10%. So when the price of the training costs like that, and if you buy this certain couple of days before the training, then the expected price is so much. And how about the installments? And how about this and that? So you need examples, and you need to look at this, how you can automate this. So this is really the cool thing. So Emeka, this is one really fantastic approach to make sure that the right product, the right features being developed. But that means learning new things. And this is part of that the developers have to learn. The developers have to learn specification skills. That takes some time. They have to learn some new testing techniques, because they have to automate these tests. So they have to write tests. So these are new things. And then they have to learn how to deploy this, how to automate this. Right? Continuous integration pipeline, blah, 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 all these things. And it all comes together. Lots of different skills. And as a whole team, and that's one of the really important things to learn, the team has to learn to have a common goal. So you need, and this is part where many Scrum teams fail. And they don't even know it. Is if they don't have one common goal, a common sprint goal where everybody has to collaborate, the team needs to have a reason to collaborate. Otherwise, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You don't need a team for that. This is cooperation at best, right? Collaboration. So I need the collaboration of the tester. I need the collaboration of the guy who's going to specify. I need the collaboration who's going to put this into production. I need these guys. Otherwise, we cannot deliver a new version each sprint. So we talk about new collaboration techniques. We're talking about pair programming. So quick question, guys. Which of you has already practiced real pair programming? Tell me.
Yes, that too.
You do that?
We do that.
That's cool. That's something essential. I can guarantee you. Teams.
Yeah, but not everybody feels same way about it.
Yes.
Yeah, senior developer doesn't want to do unless it is forced, they don't want to do it.
Yeah. That's not an easy thing. That's not an easy thing. And this is part actually what the challenge of the Scrum Master. We need to as a Scrum Master, we need to create a culture collaboration, a culture. And so you can, and that's tough, because if you have a team with guys and it's already a spoiled team, let's say, right? Imagine you have this spoiled team and they say, no, I don't do that. I don't care. Well, it's difficult. But so when I created our teams, I made it very clear from the very beginning, we have a culture of collaboration. It's part of our culture to do pair programming on a regular basis. It's part of our culture that we don't have this rockstar coder. All the skills, all is shared, right? So it's not your code. It's the team's code. And we mean it literally. So it's not like, oh, so we change wherever. So sometimes someone is working on that area and then they shift again. So I don't want that someone is only specializing on a certain area. I don't want that, right? So if we ask our guys, so guys, do you want to join our team? Yes, you want? Cool. Do you like to pair program? No, maybe you're not a good fit for our team. So, I mean, this is a difficult thing, right? But don't you agree?
I agree, yes.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, from personal experience, I love pair programming. And because, I mean, the thing is, we have to understand what it actually means. So when, all right, Emeka, it was a pleasure chatting with you. So we need to understand why pair programming and when does it make sense? I mean, we have to understand, is it complex, the work? Is it trivial? Is it just busy work? If that's the case, maybe you don't need that. But for certain areas of the code, certain challenges, so we can even, when we have our sprint planning, I say, guys, which of these items is something that the whole team should be working together? I mean, mob programming. And it's usually, it's really clear. There's one thing that's really tough. Say, okay, I want 2 people at least working on that at the same time, right? So that's part of shaping the culture of your team, and that is part of the challenge of your Scrum Master to do that, right? So you should also, and part of my training also, guys, is my developers, they should know what to expect from your Scrum Master, from your product owner. So you need to know what are the responsibilities of these guys, because you should hold them accountable. So product owner, is the product owner doing her job? Is she really writing nice items for the backlog? Does she know about refinement? If not, you should tell her, right? Because it's a whole team thing. And the same thing goes to the Scrum Master. If the Scrum Master is just only coming to the events and I'm going to facilitate only, that's not the thing. You should say, oh, dear Scrum Master, step up your game. We are not improving as a team. You help us. We want to improve. We need to learn new things. Help us deal with pressure, because we cannot improve if we focus too much on quantity. We need to understand better solutions. We need to learn things. This is part of that kind of team.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, that's it.
Overtime.
Yeah, overtime. Time is up. So yeah, so I would love to see you in one of my trainings. So we have this training course. Let me just put the link. We have this board. Let me give you the link to the board. We have some links for the training courses, discounts, and you can contact me if you like. That's it. Guys, do you have any question? Maybe the last question for today.
No, I'm good. I need to drop also.
All right. Okay,
thank you so much. I sent you LinkedIn request also.
Oh, fantastic. Cool. Yeah, let's get connected. That's fantastic. Okay, guys. Ezekiel,
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
You're welcome,
Bye.
guys.
Bye. Yeah, it was nice having you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you guys.
Bye.
They're really good pointers, actually.
Right. Thanks. Bye-bye.